Want to welcome to the show the President of the NZEI, Ripeka Lessels. Ripeka, thank you so much for joining us.
Kia ora, thank you.
Lovely to see you. Thank you for making some time for us today. The media is reporting an upcoming strike as an historic first by primary school teachers, principals and support staff. Let me read a couple of paragraphs from the Stuff article. It says primary school teachers, principals, school support staff and Ministry of Education specialists will all strike in what the union NZEI calls a historic first. As a teacher, should it not be an historic first, or have we dropped that old school stuff? I thought we said an historic. Anyway,
yeah,
I don't
grammatically,
know.
well, grammatically it should be an historic first.
Oh, look at us showing Stuff how to write their words. Hey, why? Why is this an historic first? What's going on?
Well, this is the first time that support staff will have gone out on strike ever in the history of. Can
we also just so for people who don't know, define for us a support staff in a primary school?
Yes, well, in a primary school, they are traditionally learning assistants, teacher aides. They can be, specifically designated roles in some sorts of both teaching roles or support roles in a classroom and support roles in any other ancillary position in the school. Support staff are also members. We have members in secondary school that are considered ancillary or support staff there that are also members of NZEI in the secondary service.
Okay.
So it's quite a wide group of people, and this is the first time that they would ever have taken strike action.
That's amazing. So I think of like a teacher aide or a person to help, say, a disabled person as a support staff, as a couple of kind of classic examples.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what they are. They can be funded from Ministry of Education support funding.
Yep.
Or they could be funded by the board who sees the need to to support children specifically with those that need learning support if the Ministry of Education funds are not sufficient, which is a lot of the time.
and that group within our education system have never once ever gone on strike.
No.
Wow.
No, we've never done this before. No.
So just out of interest, like if teachers went out on strike on those days, what was the support staff doing?
Well, they would be called back into school to do other tasks.
Okay.
They're not designated teachers.
Yep.
So they can't be in front of a classroom of children. So you can't call them back into the school to say, well, you've now got to look after this classroom of children.
Sure.
But they can be called back in to do other tasks that are that the school, the principal may require them to do.
Okay. So this latest announcement, again, primary school teachers, principals, school support staff and Ministry of Education specialists all going on strike. Did we leave out anyone else? The Ministry of Education specialists, do you want to explain who they are?
Well, the Ministry of Ed, there are lots of roles in the ministry that provide extra and other supports for children in schools. And so those members can either be members of the Public Service Association or the PSA, or they can be NZEI members. And so we have people who might be field staff, whose job it might be, intervention teacher somewhere that's entitled to be a member of NZEI. There are members like in MOE that are NZEI members like speech language therapists that are also entitled to be members of NZEI. There are what we call learning support workers. They're similar to support workers in schools, but these ones are funded by the ministry.
Okay.
And they are designated specifically for children that are funded by the ministry. And they can also be NZEI members.
Out of interest, they're described as Ministry of Education specialists. Are they all based in the schools, or any of those roles based actually like in the ministry, like head office sort of thing?
They are based in the ministry. They belong to the ministry, well, they are in a ministry office somewhere around the country.
Okay.
And they work with schools,
Yep.
in schools, but they're based in a ministry office somewhere around the country.
Wow, because that so I'm just painting the picture here. We're going to have this flood of public servants coming out of the schools, which you'll have your principals, your teachers, and your school support staff, and coming out of ministry offices to come together on, well, I think we've announced one day, 23rd of October at this point,
Yes.
and striking together. So people who are in the buildings where the management or the senior management are being told your offer is not good enough, people within their building are potentially leaving the building to go on strike on that day as well.
Technically, that is technically correct.
Wow. All right. So that's the reason it's historic, is because all of those groups are coming together on one day. And what's going on? What's the strike all about? Where are you guys at with the government right now?
Well, largely, this action has been called for by the members because they don't believe that the current government is valuing the role and the profession of teachers. These teachers, have largely been undervalued by their salary not being comparable to the current living cost increases right across, and not just food, but right across the cost of living. And so this action they've called for, not necessarily just for pay. Pay is essential, but it's not sufficient.
Yeah.
But there are other things that are important that members have told us that are really, really important for their negotiation teams to remember and to remind the ministry negotiators that they want. So this is because the teachers have had offers, two offers, and they chose to reject both offers because they don't believe that the offer went far enough in terms of the conditions of work that they believe are necessary to meet the needs of the ever-growing variety of neurodiverse children in classrooms.
I'm interested in the process because you just said teams of negotiators.
Yes.
How does this work practically? Is it like, Otago teachers and Wellington teachers, and they come together and then they come in together and they come in together to answer the offer? When you say teams, how does it exactly work?
So when I refer to teams, I mean teams of support staff. So there's one negotiating team for all of the support staff.
Yep.
There's one negotiating team for all of the principals, one for all of the teachers.
Gotcha.
So when I say team, I mean there is only one per team, and they work with another layer of teachers that they have that they can call on, as well as other layers that they can get their feedback from teachers, teachers and support staff and principals, in order to ensure that the mandate they have to negotiate is what our members are asking for is current. So that's what I mean by teams.
Okay, that's clear. You also talked about that it's not just, paraphrasing, it's not just about the money. There are other important things you're saying. I read in the article that the offer also overlooks the need for greater recognition of te tiriti and te reo Māori. Is this a part of the other of this? There's the money and there's the other. What are some of the other things that teachers are looking for?
Well, we have seen a steady erosion of any obligations to give effect to the Treaty of Waitangi, not just in education, but actually right across all portfolios that this government is holding. And one of the things that our members were really clear about is that they wanted a statement in the collective agreement that allowed for both ministry for both the government and teachers, support staff, principals, to maintain having or to maintain giving effect to the Treaty of Waitangi. In other words, putting a clause into the collective agreement that that almost allows for the treaty to be in a collective agreement. We've not ever done that before, but because of the, as I said, the steady erosion that we've been seeing, that's what members asked for. They wanted to put in a clause that that made sure that the Treaty of Waitangi was in a collective agreement. And once it's in a collective agreement, then it's not so easy to take it out.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is part of your response to how this government has operated overall around Māori issues is to protect that within the teaching collective. Is that basically what I'm hearing?
That's basically what you're hearing. Yeah.
So that makes me think as well, when, and I guess this is more of a logistical kind of question, and I apologise if it doesn't really make sense, but I'm thinking how there's an offer made by the government, Erika Stanford, the government, and then Teachers Council, teachers in one voice say, no, here's our counter offer. Do you understand, does that have to go to like cabinet to get sign off on, or because Erika Stanford is in charge, is she just the one making the final decision? The reason I ask it is because if you're trying to put into writing issues around te tiriti, I would imagine David Seymour could be a pretty big hurdle to get across if it needs to be a government agreed sort of passing of the law. Do you know what I'm saying?
Traditionally, negotiations are traditionally done, or have traditionally been done, and I've been on the area school principals negotiating teams for the last 3 rounds. But traditionally, the negotiations are done in good faith between whoever the representative is for the current minister,
Right.
and the representatives for NZEI. That's where the negotiations happen. This is the first year in my 40 plus years of being a teacher, and I don't know how many negotiating rounds, that the Public Service Commissioner has now taken back the responsibility of being the leading these negotiations. So generally, he can designate the role of negotiations to the minister, but and he has, and Sir Brian Roche has only been appointed the commissioner since last year, but up until him, I don't know any commissioner in my 40 years of teaching who has taken on this role. So, which kind of means that the Ministry of Education and the Public Service Commission have to work together, because together they are the other side of the bargaining agent. Our bargaining team is them. So that's a first for a long. It might have happened before my time, but I've not known it in my time.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you, why do you think that was? But I guess what you're saying is you've never seen it before, so who knows? It sounds like it's becoming there's more layers of bureaucracy or more layers of communication. So this is innately going to take longer than it should anyway. Yeah, that's a strange one. So someone who normally designates that job to other people is doing it for themselves, is what you're saying.
Yes.
But then that person who's doing it for himself still then has to talk with other people before they sign off on it.
I mean, I don't know whether he necessarily has to per se, but it would make sense to. In the long run, it would make sense to. Yes.
Where is the negotiation? So, like, what are you guys wanting and what is coming back to you? What distance do you have between the two parties to come to an agreement from your perspective?
There's always room in negotiations. There's always, that's why they're called negotiations.
Sure.
Because the ability to move between claims, you talked about the ministry brings their claims. They actually, two negotiating teams bring both sets of claims together, and then they work on whatever they might be. And by and large, there is always a justification or a reason for why the claims look like they do. And it's our negotiating team's job and role to work with the negotiator to say, well, this is why our members have called for this. And then on the other side, the ministry negotiators obviously do exactly the same thing and tell us why we shouldn't have it. Those sorts of, but that goes back and forth. But there's always room to negotiate. And at this particular juncture, I think that there is still room to negotiate, and because there's still things that, while I can't go into the detail of what's on the table, there's still wriggle room in some of the things that that our members are asking for.
Obviously, without going into the details, as you've just said, we are reporting today on the GDP numbers out for this quarter, which are a terrible result for the economy and for this government. Can you give us just an understanding? The reason I'm going to ask this, because we're talking about there's been $23 billion in tax cuts so far. So this government has chosen to kind of get $23 billion and kind of take it out of their coffers, whether people agree or disagree with that. What kind of money are we talking overall? That's the disparity. Like, do you guys need is it $1 billion overall? Is it 500 million? Like, what's the change so we can understand what that would be? Because like when we talk about government money, we talk about hundreds of billions and it just kind of all means nothing. But when we understand that 23 billion has been returned in tax cuts, what kind of money are we talking that would bring this to an end for the teachers and the government? Do you know?
Well, if you take, for instance, the treaty claim that we have, it's cost neutral. It's not going to cost them anything at all. So, and there are a couple of things that the claims that the teachers are asking for, and even the principals are asking for, that are cost neutral. But they, for whatever reason, the ministry doesn't want to move on those, even though they are cost neutral. I can't give you an exact figure of what it's going to cost to get it, to get it over the line. What I do know is that we researched and surveyed what it would cost for learning support to meet the needs of our children with learning support. And that was going to cost $2.5 billion.
Right.
Now, while the education budget was a $2.5 million, that's not specifically just for learning support.
Yeah.
And we went into those figures and those numbers before the budget, because those were the things that members were telling us that were needed. That is, a teacher aid in every classroom.
Yeah.
Those things that, that we needed to wrap around support for our most vulnerable children. So while I can't give you the number, Pat, we do know that what's currently there, the fiscal envelope that is currently there, is actually not going to do it. And this is a self-imposed fiscal envelope, I might also add.
It always is. It always is. Because they're all choices. When the government says we've got no more money left to do that, but then you highlight how much they've given back, they're just making choices. They're shuffling the money how they want it to be shuffled. Hey, finally, Ripeka, 23rd of October, Strike Day.
Yes.
Anything else we need to know about? Did you make it kind of 6 weeks away because then you give it time for negotiation in between in case you can cancel? Is that the reason for making it that far out? Yeah, okay.
That's not the only reason, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
While we're still in a negotiation round, because negotiations can halt the whole thing.
And that is actually good faith, saying we'll give us long enough to keep talking, and if we can't. So do we need to know anything else about Strike Day?
Well, there'll be lots of things happening around the country on that particular day. And while it might be that teachers are not going to be in all schools closed from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on that day, there will be activities that teachers and communities can get involved in. Just I guess, to highlight the necessity or the need to support our support schools around the country, or to support what we believe is a lack of emphasis on the most important things that schools could be and should be doing, and don't have the resources or the funding or the resources to be able to do that, Pat.
It's funny, it's almost like the teachers are thinking of what's best for the kids, just like the nurses are thinking what's best for the patients, and that's not the narrative necessarily we have said back to us from this government. But
they've also, they've said it's really disruptive, but it's disruptive when children in classrooms, when we have a shortage of teachers and kids are being put into double up classes here and there are no relievers. That's awfully disruptive when that, when that happens.
100%. The president of the NZEI, that is Ripeka Lessels, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciated your time, and we'll stay in touch in the lead up to the strike. Best of luck with that.
Kia ora, thank you, Pat.